Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining our webinar today on preparing your brokerage against disruptors. Very pleased to introduce our guests that we have with us today, Vincent Socci out of William Pitt Sotheby's International Realty, as well as Aaron Linkoff, Director of Business Development here at Active Pipe. So a little background on Vincent. He brings an awesome blend of marketing expertise, technology know-how in his role currently as the COO of William Pitt and Julia B. Fee Sotheby's International Realty. He's also played a key role in leading the company's digital innovation, most notably seeing the development of the firm's website, intranet platforms, and much more. Aaron, would you like to quickly introduce yourself and what you do here at Active Pipe?
Yeah, my name is Aaron Linkoff. I can see a lot of people on the list here attending. I know a lot of you guys personally. Great to see you on here. So I work, I'm Director of Business Development for Active Pipe. Been with the company for about 2.5 years, I believe, at this point. So good to be on here. I've worked with Vin, actually at a couple different companies, but we've been long-time colleagues and friends. So it's good to be on here again.
Thank you, Aaron, and thanks for that intro, Brian.
Awesome. Yeah, so we have a really exciting topic to cover today. So as mentioned, and you probably could have guessed by the title, today we'll be talking a little bit about preparing your brokerage against disruptors. And disruptors can mean a wide array of different things. Could be tech-enabled brokerages, could be tech companies, portals, things like that. But the point is, maybe in the past 10 or so years, especially within the past 18 months because of COVID, we've seen a lot of rapid technological transformation when it comes to the traditional brokerage industry. So Vincent has dealt with that, like he was spearheading that essentially at his brokerage, and he had a lot of great insight into what you can do to help your brokerage navigate through these times. So yeah, with that being said, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. And appreciate everybody joining. So just like Brian was saying, I think the focus of today is really just understanding from Vin's perspective, how has William Pitt successfully been able to navigate and continue to stay ahead as disruption will always occur and continues to occur. And, with COVID coming and going and the markets changing, what exactly has been so successful for them? I think I was just looking at the numbers. I think congrats is in order, Vin. It looks like you guys grew like 50% from last year. Which is pretty astounding knowing, the condition of everything that's going on and everything that you guys had to deal with your particular market. To still see a 50% gain in business is pretty incredible. So, that's just a perfect testament to, the fact that you're a great person to talk to about how do we ultimately continue to stay innovative and in the face of constant disruption, and how should we ultimately be thinking about it? I think, ultimately, Sotheby's International Realty, William Pitt Sotheby's International Realty would be probably more considered a traditional style brokerage, right? And yet still continue to be able to innovate, still able to stay ahead and be top in the market, right? So it's not necessarily this idea of as long as you're the disruptor, you're the one that's going to be winning. That's not always necessarily the case, right? And so really just want to get your perspective, just kind of get started. Like, what do you think has made William Pitt successful up to this point? And what are things that you've been doing personally or with the company that's been able to help you guys stay ahead and react to these, or at least be proactive too, to this constant disruption?
Sure. And Aaron and Brian, again, thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to share with everyone today. When I think about that question, you think, we use these terms, disruptors, traditional real estate firms, and we take, we take with pride being called a traditional real estate brokerage, having been in the business for over 70 years. And at the core of the real estate business is relationships. You can never forget about that. What we've also focused on for at least over the last decade, and probably before that, is innovation. Innovation is just a constant change. And in this business, Brian referenced the last 18 months, last decade before that, we've been changing and evolving in real estate forever. And we've kept a constant focus on that, whether it be in technology, whether it be in the offering and the tools that we offer our agents. The mindset has always been, though, how do we help them do their job more efficiently, but also keeping them front of mind with their clients and allowing them to foster the relationships that are so important to them.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think, with all the disruption and everything, right? Like is there a loss of focus on the relationship aspect of it? But that's always going to be the part where, you can continue to differentiate, right? It's something that I think we talk a lot about at ActivePipe too, is, no matter what the tech stack is or what the innovation is, creating just a fantastic customer experience is key. So for you, for William Pitt as an example, anything specifically that you guys have done, maybe over the last 18 months, or things that you're investing in, or mindsets that you guys have had that you think have been able to help you guys stay on top?
Sure. I wouldn't focus on the last 18 months. We all know what we've all been through. What we did prior, probably the last 4 to 5 years, prepared us to be able to execute over the last 18 months in the situations we were in. And that's finding the right tech stack, ActivePipe as a partner of ours, and having a CRM solution, making sure all those programs and those partners that we're establishing relationships with are able to play nice together, communicate, pass data back and forth, and then have a central hub for our agents to access to get into all their tools and technology. You look at Disruptors or other companies in the space talking about having multiple disparate tools and technology, and forever, as long as I've been here over the last 12 years, we've had a single sign-on solution to get to any one of our programs, even if it is a third-party platform like a Close or an ActivePipe. We're synced right into them, integrating the data and making sure that's first and foremost. It's the efficiency piece for the agent. They don't need to be able to have to log into all these different systems. We're able to do that on the back end through our technology team, our marketing team, to create those solutions. And we made investments. We invested in Zoom, 5 years ago. We didn't get adoption until 2020 from the agent base, but we provided that tool out to everyone. And then, you've got the laundry list of e-signature, transaction management, contact management, email marketing, all of those things. We were ahead of the curve in thinking about that, making sure the agents were out there training on it, getting them to adopt the solutions, and providing that technology to them in a very easy to consume fashion. And that's what the real focus is of it.
Yeah, it's interesting. You bring up an idea about how data it's a problem right now, how you have all these disparate pieces of technology and the data doesn't speak to each other. So the importance of that. And what's interesting is William Pitt, you all haven't gone down necessarily that path, or you've at least gone away from that path of just trying to do one tech solution that might have everything, but not everything is necessarily the best, where you do have all the data in one spot, but you have taken more of a route of, we're going to create a tech ecosystem, even though we know that we have to make sure that we are then putting systems in place to collect all that data and have the systems communicate with each other. Do you think that's had a big impact on the success of William Pitt in recruiting and retention and success overall?
Yeah, I think success overall in recruiting and retention, specifically when you think of recruiting, there are brokers in the space that don't have a focus from a technology standpoint, when we use the term disparate technology products, and they don't speak to each other. And that's already putting the agent behind the 8 ball. And if they have to remember logins to 6 or 7 different solutions. And so, early on, we developed our fully customized intranet solution to be able to provide listing data to the agents, provide contact management to the agents. And then as we started to really need to see the evolution, we brought in a contact management solution. And you and I can go back and remember those days. And then, we've been able to build a tech ecosystem, though, that's not reliant on one specific product, because no real estate broker is going to make an emphasis or be able to be the panacea to deliver on all these tools. We find the best in class partners at the time, invest in them, and invest in our own agents to be able to provide that solution, and then make sure that they're able to be plug and play, because companies get bought up, companies go out of business. We need to be able to offer the best solutions that fit the time for right now. And then we've been very successful in doing that. You think of our intranet solution, and really the backbone behind synchronizing all of these systems is Okta for us. You need to have security at the forefront of your company today, and using a system like Okta, which offers SSO and pass-throughs, they're able to be that sort of middleman between all the different web solutions that we're using, and make sure that our agents with one password get into every single possible solution without having to re-enter their password or have to remember a whole set of different other passwords.
Yeah, I think that part is so important, because ultimately, when we think about, again, changing markets and disruption, there's always going to be something that is coming to market that is going to disrupt. There's a company that has been popping up that you can bid your listing, and agents can bid on actually grabbing the listing. It's an example of disruption. So when you rely on one big piece of technology, it's difficult for you to continue to innovate because you are relying on that only, right? What you guys have done, which I think is so smart,
Sure.
is you've built this ecosystem, and it allows you to actually be flexible, right? It allows you to actually kind of future-proof the brokerage, because let's say one of those pieces is not performing, is not keeping up with what the market expects, right? You can pull that off and attach a new one, right? That's in the similar category.
Exactly.
Because you've created that backbone, you can do that. Where a lot of companies, it can be easier just to say, let's just go with this one big program, because I just gotta, work with one company, they take care of everything. But then if they don't stay in touch, or like you said, I think I've heard of some companies getting acquired. I'm not sure, I haven't heard all the time, but if that happens, then what are you going to do? How are you going to continue to innovate? So I think that's a really smart thing that William Pitt has done, especially for such a large brokerage. It takes a lot of time and effort to get to that point to create like the best tech ecosystem. How do you continue?
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Go ahead. What was the question?
I was going to say, so now that you've built this, right, how do you look at continuing to innovate on it, judging how successful pieces of that tech are? Like how do you look at the success of that system, and how do you think about when changes need to be done, or how to continue to stay up to date on, is your current tech cocktail really solving all the issues that you guys have?
I think we keep a pulse on that by going to our first customer, our agents, and hearing back from them any sort of pain points they're encountering, any sort of ideas they may be having regarding something that could make their lives that much more efficient or effective. And when you focus on getting that feedback, absorbing that feedback, and then being able to go out to the space, you pulled up a CRM solution up there on the screen, and you think there's a dime a dozen CRM solutions. Vetting the one that's going to be the most aligned partner with you, to invest in, not only you invest in them, they invest in you to be successful together, successful, and make your agents successful. That's the key piece. And we're on the lookout every single day for, if it's a new CRM solution, CMA solution, email marketing platform. We found the best of the best today, but 2 years down the line, they could be a whole different other suite of folks we're talking about. And so that's where you have to be able to iterate, be nimble, is what you mentioned, be flexible, and know at the core, have your control of your data. Make sure that you're able to then provide that data directly to these partners that you select, and then get the data back from them. That's the whole shooting match, because without that communication, without that flow of data, you get back into that disparate sort of silos of solutions, and that doesn't support the agent. That doesn't give them the visibility they deserve, they need, to be more effective in their business.
Yeah, that's a really great way of going about it. You're getting it straight from, really for brokerage, you have two end consumers. You have two end clients. You have the buyers and sellers, and then you have the agents, right? And so just like you would do market research on how are buyers and sellers going through a buying process, or what is an ideal customer, or customer experience for, it's a similar thing for the agent. That's your other client at the end of the day is the agent. So going to them, doing the market research on what are the agents saying, and then taking the time to actually sift through and vet it out. Not a lot of companies do that, right? And kind of just settle on the first ones. I know you go through pretty rigorous process of going about that. I know you also get involved a lot of the managers. You have a whole group of managers that you get, in front of the technology. I've definitely gone through the gauntlet with you a couple of times. I know what that experience is like.
You have.
Very thorough.
Yes,
so
you have.
I can appreciate that. So technology, that's a big one, right? That's one of the ways that we differentiate, but tech is one piece, right? And we know that we're going to try to drive as much adoption of tech as we can. And but that only gets us so far, right? At some point you have tech and the brokerage next you have tech, and agents are going to compare technology. And so, you hope to have the best system. You both hope to drive the best adoption, but other factors, right? Like services or, that you provide for agents, or, other things that we're not thinking of here outside of technology? How are you thinking about what you guys can be doing or are doing that's helping you stay ahead?
Support gets into, the conversation. Culture is really there at the top, and how we perceive our agent, and our agent being our customer, and then having, the buyers and sellers who are their clients, to be able to support, but knowing that the agents have a voice at the table. My cell phone, our CEO's cell phone, our leadership team, we're accessible 24/7. And that's the way this business operates. And I have conversations with agents every single day regarding suggestions they have, products that they've tested out that they want us to consider, or just helping support situations. When we look at our ratio, I think we have like a 10-to-1 ratio with the agent to support people in our offices. And so when there's ample support, marketing support, administrative transaction support. Our corporate team here, we built out with the full IT support team, marketing, accounting, relocation. And so those folks are readily accessible day in, day out too. And that's, I think, one of the key drivers is that we're not just putting these products out into their hands and then leaving them to their own devices. We're there to support them the whole way, through training, through the marketing team support, through the actual in-office support. We call our local brokerage teams. Those folks are there to make sure that they're successful. They're taking that administrative load off of the agent, allowing them to be in the trenches, allowing them to do what they do best, is have the relationship, work with the clients, and that's where the money's all at.
Yeah. So one of the things I also wanted to, ask you about, I think there's an inclination or a response a lot of brokerages have when disruption hits their market, right? We're using this overall word, disruption, where, let's say, iBuyer enters my market, right? And then there's this impulse to say, okay, we need to have an iBuyer solution now, or Compass entered my market. Okay, we need to now have similar technology to Compass, right? There can be this impulse of, we need to match those around us, and it can be difficult to be proactive when, in many situations, it's not necessarily effective to just match what they're doing, but to actually be the best at what you already do and continue to be better at that. A good example is, brokerages a long time ago realized we're not necessarily going to be the first place consumers go to find homes anymore, right? That might have been the case in the past, but not many brokerages these days are trying to compete with Zillow, or Redfin to be the first home search experience, right? But right now, when an iBuyer joins a market, a lot of brokerages will say, okay, we need to have an iBuyer solution. That might be the right call, but you can see where I'm saying that there tends to be a lot of that type of reaction. How do you kind of avoid that, or when does that make sense in your mind to say, okay, we see what others are doing, we think that makes sense for us to do, or how do you say, okay, maybe this is not really in our lane, we need to make sure that we're staying within our lane? How do you kind of think about that?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, the iBuyers and the disruptors, it's Orchard, Open Door, Redfin, Salute has an iBuying program, and that's going to take up a percentage of the marketplace. There's going to be an appetite for that, but we're not a discount broker. We're not in that type of business, and that's not our lane. And so we stay focused on what we offer to our clients, and that keeps us successful. You used the term proactive, and for us, our success has been definitely to have been more proactive at bringing in technology maybe a year or two too early, that it's not fully yet adopted, because then you're able to pivot on the dime. It's a lot better to be proactive than it is to be reactive to solutions. Like you're referring to a couple of the competitors out there, and even with Zillow, we're talking about real estate search. And nobody's going to take on Zillow from that perspective. What you want to be able to do is make sure that you have the local market content baked into your website. You have the capability to rank pretty highly when they're typing in Google real estate in your particular marketplaces, because that you can still achieve today, even though everybody and anyone that lives in the US knows Zillow as an entity and probably spends a lot of time on there, because real estate is voyeurs and people like to look at homes. But when they're really looking to buy a home, they're not necessarily thinking to go through that route. They like to go to Zillow to search for property, but then they're needing to find a broker to really guide them through. And that's where we've been very successful. We have a very focused SEO and search engine marketing initiative to make sure that we're there when somebody is actually looking then to find a broker or to find homes in a particular marketplace. And that's where that whole proactiveness comes from, because we could have just been, you could just wait and see and hope and pray that that lead's going to come along, but you need to really go out there and find them to be able to then provide your agents with business.
Yeah, I think you actually said something very interesting there. I don't know if a lot of people on the webinar maybe have heard this type of concept, but you're talking about, you're not going to necessarily beat Zillow, on the front page of Google when someone's searching, real estate in Connecticut, right? But when you can get to specific areas in your specific markets, or, I think it's called long tail SEO is I think one of the terms for it, where you can say, vacation style homes in this particular, like a specific search. You won't have as many people searching that, but the ones that are very high quality, right? And very high intent. So if you can, you can actually very much easier get higher up on the SEO, on the rankings and those type of things. And so it's really just like what you're saying. It's okay. We're not trying to be, we're not trying to necessarily match what our disruptors are doing, but we're getting interesting and innovating on where we know our lane is. Just to kind of flip it a little bit, what about kind of like the anti-disruption, right? So what I mean by that is, I've talked to a lot of, like my friend, this is anecdotal, but, friends and family and other people just about like, look, if you wanted to go buy or sell a home right now, I think a lot of us are in the industry, right? We're all in the industry. So we all are kind of have that biases of like how somebody might go about the process, right? But somebody who doesn't really necessarily know all the names of all the different brokerages, how would you decide, right? And so I talked to somebody in San Francisco, and Compass has a big market share there. And they say, probably I would look at Compass. And I asked why. And it wasn't because necessarily their website or because of retargeting ads or anything like that, is because they saw billboards, they saw the signs on the lawns, right? And it's kind of like the anti-disruption, right? It's it's doubling down on more traditional methods where we know that actually can have an influence, but there might be a fear to do that because of this need to continue to innovate and advance in technology and all of that. How do you kind of think about that? Is that like a viable thing? Is that something you think is worthwhile to continue down, or it's what I'm saying, maybe just anecdotal and not really have much relevance to you guys?
No, I don't think it's anecdotal. We're talking about, brand awareness and making sure that name is out there. That's absolutely important today as it was yesterday and whenever, because at the end of the day, consumers choose an agent, but they also gravitate towards brands in which they have affinity to. We're part of the Sotheby's International Realty Network, and we have 275 years of heritage behind that name, behind that recognition, not only in the Northeast where we serve or the United States, but globally. And we're able to benefit from that network and be able to tap into that network and have relationships with other agents and companies throughout the network to be able to send business back and forth. And that's another added value to the client. They know the Sotheby's name even before they meet maybe one of our agents. And so that's an incredible benefit. And to the other companies and the other brokers in the industry, I know a lot of them have names that resonate, and some of them resonate because they're the new trendy ones on the street, other ones because they've been the tried and true. And so we're fortunate to have had that relationship with Sotheby's International Realty.
Yeah, I think Sotheby's is like perfectly set in the market as like a really strong brand, yet still continues to be innovative. So it's one of those things where the branding consistency and branding awareness is unbelievably important, which also puts a lot of pressure on the brokerage, on the brand, to make sure there's that consistency. Because William Pitt, you have over 1,000 agents, you have 1,000 brand ambassadors at that point, right? So if there's not consistency in how that brand's being presented in materials, in conversations, and then it can start breaking down pretty quickly. So that anti-disruption I'm talking about, loses its value if you don't have that consistency. And so that's where it comes back to maybe technology and services, right? Taking a lot of control of that and taking it maybe off the plate of the agent altogether.
And go ahead.
No. What were you gonna say?
No, technology is the tool there. And so that's the piece to remember. It's there to support an agent do their business. And that's part of our culture. That's our philosophy. But investing in it is key. Having the culture, the network available to us like we do, that's a front and center. But you've got to be investing in technology today. If you're not, when I say SSO and people are wondering what that is, if you don't know what those things are, like Okta and such, you've got to get behind that stuff and get invested into it like yesterday. Yeah,
agreed. Awesome. Well, so we're running up on time here. I don't know if there's any questions that come on here. It sounds like Heidi was asking about what do you use for Okta? What do you use for single sign-on? And it looks Okta is the one you guys ultimately utilize.
Mm-hmm.
That's been successful for you guys.
Incredibly,
awesome. Yeah. Well, unless there's any other questions, I think that's running up on time here.
Yeah, we had two more audience questions coming in through the back channel here, but I think this question is directed towards Vincent. How do you think about customer experience? Like, how do you think about personalizing the experience per client that your agent has, or what are some ways that you make sure that every customer of your agents feels special?
Customer experience is key. It's from the get-go, the service level that they get, and we deliver exceptional service. It's also making sure that they're having the access to the data that they need. And whether it's a whole plethora of reports that we have our agents able to send automatically to them, keeping them informed of the marketplace, that ties into customer experience. Information when we actually have a home seller, we provide them consistent report cards on what's going on in terms of the marketing and activity of their home. So those all really tie into that whole customer experience. And thinking at the very core of it is the service component of that. Again, technology plays that part, but it ultimately empowers the agent to do their job most effectively.
Great. So we have another question. I believe this is also directed towards Vincent. Do you have any advice when it comes to increasing agent adoption of technology? So how do you convince more and more of your brokerage to start using maybe a tool that you guys recently purchased or licensed?
Continual training, continual focus on education, finding those agents that are power users or champions of the product and sharing those success stories, because agents, just like anything else, are social beings. And so they want to hear how a specific product benefited another colleague in their office or in the company. And then that really sometimes boils it down so they understand the value. You have to sell the features of a product, but you have to sell the benefits to the agents as well. So they understand, if I do this, if I use this product, I can shave off time on my day with a CRM solution. This email marketing platform is going to be able to, get content more readily available to my clients in a timely fashion. I'm able to touch them consistently through that. And so education is a main focus from the company. We have a training and education department led by two very incredible people, and the focus is, they're collaborating with our marketing team, with our technology team, and it's just a constant push to make sure that product understanding is ingrained in our managers, in our admins, and our agents.
Awesome. Well, I think that's about it for today's webinar. Aaron, Vincent, do you guys have any parting words before we end this?
Well, I appreciate everybody joining. Hopefully this was helpful. I know there's a lot of different things that you can be doing, but I think Vin's got a great perspective here and clearly a successful track record. So I would take him for what he says, to be highly valuable. But I appreciate you joining, Vin. I appreciate everybody else joining the call.
Aaron, thank you. Brian as well. Thank you for coordinating. And feel free, anyone that would love to chat further, look me up online, wherever you can, many different places, and always looking to meet new friends and colleagues around the industry.
Awesome. All right, Vin. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, guys. Stay well. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks, everyone.